Are you ready?
From next April, workers with children aged up to 16 will have the right to ask employers to change their contractual hours to fit in with their domestic life. They may not request fewer hours, but can suggest, for example, fitting in with school hours by starting work earlier. In Call You and Yours today, do you back this apparently family-friendly policy, or do you see it as an extra burden that small firms in particular could do without? Katia, let's talk about the situation as of now. What is the current situation for an employee who would like to work more flexibly?
Well, at the moment, parents with children under the age of 6, or anybody who has a caring responsibility, whether it's to care for a disabled child or perhaps an elderly relative, have the right to request flexible working. And this is now going to be extended as of April to parents with children under the age of 16.
And what's the position as it stands, and indeed come April, for the employer who receives a request? Does he or she have the right to say no if they choose to?
Yes, they do have the right to say no, and that's absolutely essential, and something we've argued very strongly, that employers must retain the right to refuse requests if they don't think that it would be in the interest of the business to grant the request. There is a formal process, but I think really the purpose of the legislation is to encourage employers and employees to sit down and discuss flexible working.
Sally, good afternoon. Where do you stand broadly on this, first of all?
Well, we warmly welcome the extension of the right to request. We think it's slightly odd that it, at the moment, only applies to parents of preschool children, when obviously parents of school-aged children have very similar pressures in trying to manage their work and caring responsibilities. But ultimately, we'd like to see the right to request extend to all employees, because there are many reasons for wanting to work flexibly.
Are you happy, though, with a system that still allows the employer to have the right to say no?
No, and in particular for people with caring responsibilities, we think at the very least the employer's reasons for saying no should be open to scrutiny.
Sally, thank you for the moment. Let me bring in another caller. Reg Bailey is on the line from London. Reg, good afternoon. You may have heard some emails at the start of the programme from some, particularly people running small businesses, who say much though they would love to do this, it just simply is not practically possible at the moment.
Well, I think that of course has always been the employer's right under this legislation to, because it's the opportunity to request flexible working. But I think there is a view that actually says, and I think the evidence backs it up. In fact, there was a BBC News programme in 2007 which looked at how employers, predominantly small employers, had found that how they dealt with those requests, and over 90% of them had actually approved those, including smaller businesses. We actually think that if family is important to the future of our society, then actually it is really worth investing in that, and that actually benefits businesses, it benefits the whole of society in which we live. So there's a sort of wider picture than just whether it's money and business that are winning this particular argument or whether it's flexible working. We think there's a balance to be achieved there.
Reg, thank you for that viewpoint. Now, I mentioned Peter Thompson's been doing some research into the effects of flexible working on business.
That's right.
Julian touched upon one statistic a moment ago. Do you want to add to that mix to give us a sense of what you found?
Yes. I mean, if you just look at the top 3 or 4 benefits for small businesses, reduced business travel, reported by over 90% of them, improved customer services, which is almost 90%, but then increased productivity. Again, 90% saying that it was either likely or very likely that they were going to get those. And in fact, about 98% actually reported that there was some increase in productivity. So and these are small businesses as well. I think you often hear that small businesses have difficulty implementing this, and I'm not saying it's always easy to manage, but I think this research has shown that there are significant benefits for small businesses that often don't get appreciated.
It's time for me to say thank you to all of you who got in touch via email or text or telephone, especially if you took time away from work to do so. Peter then here tomorrow at 4 minutes past 12. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.